Hi, Jared 200. It is November 25th, and you guys are about to get a tiny little vacation break, which is nice. And Dr. Walsh is here to show that he survived his surgery, and he's doing pretty well. And
Look,
he's
I'm like the guy from Star Wars, except for it's coming out of my chest.
we don't even know what he's talking about, but he is hooked up to an ice machine, and
That's what this
ice is your friend, as many of you know when you have an injury or you're recovering from surgery. So Dr. Walsh had a biceps repair and a AC joint repair,
They
and
cut off about an inch of bone, 4
yeah.
holes. Everybody should do it.
So for all of you athletes that do overhead sports, we have a great doctor.
Water polo, football, basketball, tennis, surfing.
Anyway,
what happens.
Okay, well, thank you, Dr. Walsh, for showing us
All
that
right.
you're still good.
I'm going to come back later on and say goodbye again.
Okay.
But I'm going to let the expert, the financial expert and the attorney expert do her thing.
Okay. Thanks, Dr. Walsh. So anyway, okay, so we finally come to the end of the semester. You guys have done an amazing job, and I know there's a lot to do in this class, and we had a lot to cover because we're teaching you everything you need to know for the rest of your life in this one class. So this week we're talking about financial power of attorney, which is a great document that everyone who is over 18 should have. And as a lawyer, last week we talked about durable power of attorney for healthcare. There are many, many good forms on the internet that you can use for durable power of attorney for healthcare or living will. With a financial power of attorney, what you're going to find is a lot of times specific institutions want you to use their forms. So banks are famous for saying, oh, even though you have your own durable power of attorney for financial that your lawyer drafted, we want you to use our forms. So you may find that it is helpful, just to avoid the squabbles with the bank, to go ahead and get a power of attorney form from a bank if you need one. However, it's good to have a financial power of attorney because, as you know, I did this recently with my brother-in-law. He's single. He lives alone. He drives a lot for work, and we were concerned if he got into a car accident or became sick that we needed to be able to pay his bills and keep his house going and take care of him while he was recovering. And so the point of having this financial power of attorney is that you are going to give someone else the authority to access your financial accounts. So obviously you want to be careful about who you choose to be that person. So we call the person, let's say my brother-in-law, Tim, he's the principal. He picks an agent, just like you pick a real estate agent that's going to help sell you or help you buy a house. You pick an agent that's going to be your financial agent. And so they will be allowed to deal with your bank, deal with your stock accounts, deal with your retirement accounts, et cetera, and take care of financial issues for you if you need that help. There's 2 types of financial power of attorneys. One is called a springing financial power of attorney because it springs into existence the moment you become incapacitated. Of course, that raises the question and perhaps the argument, is this person incapacitated enough to trigger the power of attorney? So most people just go ahead and sign a durable power of attorney for financial so that there's no argument about whether or not the person's competent or not. So you sign a power of attorney, and no one is going to exercise that power in theory until you are incapacitated and can no longer act for yourself. So the reading is from AARP, which I've already pulled up. And this is just a real short article explaining a lot of what I just told you. What is a power of attorney? Who's the principal? Who's the agent? Who's the attorney in fact? What are the different types of power of attorneys? And what you need to think about when you're choosing an agent. Now, as an attorney, whenever I create a document like this, I like to have, here's my number 1 choice for power of attorney, here's my number 2 choice for power of attorney, and in some cases, here's my number 3 choice for power of attorney, because you might create this document, sign it, get it notarized, get it all legal, and then things change. Maybe one of your choices moves away, maybe one of your choices becomes a little bit less trustworthy. Maybe they disappear, you're not friends anymore. So it's good to have multiple choices in terms of the power of attorney. So let's go back to here. And so, I encourage all of you, if you have any assets whatsoever, or if your parents have any assets, encourage them to make sure that they have this document in place. Because again, if someone's sick and in the hospital and somebody needs to pay their bills, it's good to have this financial power of attorney to allow you to do that. One last thing that I forgot to mention, most of the forms, and certainly the California statutory form that's set up in the probate code, will allow you to select a whole laundry list of items. So I could say, I'm giving this person my power of attorney to buy and sell real estate for me. So maybe you are married and you're going to be traveling on business, but you want to buy a house, and you give your power of attorney to your spouse so that your spouse can sign for you. You could give someone a power of attorney just to handle your healthcare insurance, or a whole big laundry list of items. So you can be very broad or very specific. Generally, there's a box that you check that says all of the above. So I want someone to have very broad powers. And there is a risk of elder abuse, because we know one of the primary types of elder abuse is financial abuse. So there is a risk that when you give someone the power over your bank account, even though they technically are not owners of that bank account, it is not uncommon to find in elder abuse cases that a family member has emptied out grandma's bank account or dad's bank account, and then the siblings find out later, much to their dismay, that grandma is now destitute and has no money for care. So it's important to pick the right person, and probably to have good oversight. Make sure that someone's checking the bank statements to see if money is disappearing. So the other thing that we're talking about this week is housing and legal issues. And we've given you a link to this great document, Harvard Housing Study, but it is pretty long, and I understand it's the end of the semester and you guys have a lot on your plates right now. So you can, scan it. I'm not expecting you to read the entire document, go through it, look at the pictures. And we have highlighted some of the important issues. So right now we know that we have an aging population. We know that our percentage of our population that's 50 and over is going to be bigger and bigger and bigger. 1 in 5 people will be 65 and over in 2030. 1 in 8 will be 75 and over. So that's an issue. We also know that as people get older, sometimes they have less money. If you are reliant on Social Security to live your life, you are in a world of hurt, because it's not, the average Social Security benefit is between $1,000 and $1,200 a month right now. That's not going to go very far in a city like LA or Chicago or New York or San Francisco. We are concerned in general about the high cost of housing for everybody. But especially for those people that are over 65, retired, maybe not making a lot of money. Certainly that's a definite issue. So we're worried about the high cost of housing. How are people going to pay for housing, et cetera? And how much money do people have in reserve? So that if you get into a problem, if your car breaks down and you have to pay rent, it's a problem if you're 65, 70 years old and you don't have a lot of assets and you don't have a lot of income coming in. So we do see a kind of a housing assistance gap in terms of how many people are eligible, and older people that are low income eligible for housing assistance, and how many people are actually getting it. So there's a pipeline that's getting clogged up and people aren't getting the help that they need. So that's definitely something to think about. One of the other things that we've talked about is for people that are over 65, they are spending a lot of money on healthcare. They're spending money on food, and it all adds up. So they don't have money left for housing. They don't have a lot of savings to move. If you have to move in LA and you've got to get first and last month's rent, and Lord forbid if you have a pet and have to put down a pet deposit, it becomes very easy for people to become housing insecure and end up homeless. So anyway, take a look at that. We have a video, and we had a video earlier this semester about elder abuse. This is for people, a lot of people are very passionate on this subject. So this is a good video from the LA County District Attorney's Office about elder abuse. He's back. We're getting through it. And I'm really proud of USC because Laura Mosqueda was hired as the dean of the Keck School of Medicine. She is a national expert on elder abuse, and we're so lucky to have her. And in USC gerontology, fight on, he says. In USC gerontology, we have Kate Wilbur, who does a lot of great work in this. And we need to protect our vulnerable populations, and we need to protect our elderly people. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the stats that we have up on the USC elder abuse website. 1 in 10, in a given year, 1 in 10 elderly people are going to report emotional, physical, sexual, elder abuse or neglect. Now, the one thing we all need to think about is most elder abuse doesn't get reported. So the numbers are vastly larger than that. When you look at the type of elder abuse that is happening, it's primarily financial abuse, neglect, emotional abuse, and the things that are scary, like physical and sexual abuse, are happening less often. But when they're happening, it's a huge impact to the elderly person. 90% of the abusers are family members, so that's why it doesn't get reported. Grandma and grandpa don't want, niece, nephew, son, daughter, grandchild to get into trouble. And so they blame themselves and they don't come forward. So 93% of elder abuse is never reported, which is a very sad thing. People who have dementia have a very, very high risk of being mistreated and being victims of elder abuse. And that is partly because I think they're considered unreliable reporters. So, someone with a dementia who's actually telling the truth. Yes, this guy came in and he hit me and he did this and I have bruises. People say, oh, she has dementia, so she's not making sense. She doesn't know what she's saying, etc. So, and finally, the impact of elder abuse is so enormous because it's associated with higher mortality. So if we look at people who have been designated or determined to be elder abuse victims, they are 5.82 times more likely to die within a year. And those who haven't been reported are much less likely to die. So two times more likely if it's confirmed elder abuse, 1.38 times more likely if it's suspected elder abuse. Self-neglect is 5.82 times more likely to die within a year. So that's very concerning. Alrighty, I was going to talk about, I almost forgot. I was going to talk about the midterm. We're getting a lot of questions about how to prepare for the midterm. I am going to try to put together a little bit of a study guide. I'm also, drafting questions so that I can actually hopefully give you tips on what to look at. So the midterm is 60 questions. It's 2 hours. It's open book, open course. Multiple choice. You're supposed to take it by yourself. Do not take it with a friend. That would be a violation of our academic integrity rules. And about 15 to 20 questions are going to be based on the discussions, and about 40 of them will be based on the reading. So a lot of people are saying, well, how do I get to the discussions? If you go to Gero 200 weekly assignments and you go to the bottom, there is a folder called Archive Discussions for Midterm Studying. The other thing people are asking is, how do I go back over my old quizzes? Because we have question pools for the quizzes and we recycle some of those questions for the midterm. So it's a good idea to study your quizzes. It'll force you to go through the material. So go to the grade book, click on the number that is your grade for a quiz. It should take you to a second page and you'll see that number again that's underlined. Click on that number again, because that underline is a hypertext link, which takes you to your quiz, and it shows you what answer you selected and what the correct answer was. So you can quickly go back through your quizzes. So hopefully I haven't stressed you out by talking about the midterm.
Well, it seems daunting. People do really well in the midterm, and people do really well in this class. So don't worry, you guys got it going on. Don't worry.
Yes. And if you have any questions over Thanksgiving break, just email us. We'll try to stay on top of our email. And we posted the questions that you can use for your final interview paper under that assignment. But if for some reason you need us to email you the questions, just let us know. We're here and we're not going anywhere. So I hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving break. I hope you all have a safe Thanksgiving break, and we will see you all next week. Remember, no quiz or discussion is due on Monday. It's all due the last Friday of class. So we're giving you a little bit of extra time, realizing that this week is a holiday week.
And this actually is our last lecture, isn't it?
This is our last lesson. So when I say that I'm going to see you, I meant in the kind of spiritual, we're here if you want to see us.
So, and I just want to thank everybody. It's an honor for us to be your instructor. It's an honor that you choose us to guide you in terms of becoming really successful adults someday. So we thank you for that. You guys are doing really well. I want to thank her because she's awesome. we talked a little bit in class about a big part of it is the sociology of aging, and if you ever take any other classes from us, you realize that having a really successful relationship is the #1 predictor of health and longevity and happiness. And so that's where we're at. We're very happy and have been for a long time.
And you don't have to have a lot of relationships.
Good ones.
And you don't have to be married. You just need like a friend or a dog or whatever. It doesn't matter. It could be a plant, just something that makes you happy.
Just think where I'd be right now if I didn't have her to help me as a caregiver after having shoulder surgery. And why did this happen to me? Well, it's because she allowed me to be a lunatic surfer my whole life, and she's always been there for me, and so it's really awesome. Okay, so I think what we're going to do now is
we're going to try to turn this off.
We're going to turn this off right here, and
bye, guys.
And we're going to go like this, and we're going to say bye, guys.
Bye, guys. Happy Thanksgiving.